Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to our podcast and, like, I don't know, I was listening to some other podcasts, people were talking about, like, oh no, like, I wasn't using my good microphone or whatever, and then I listened to ours and I was like, it sounds fine.
Yeah, I think it's because, like, there's no high watermark to compare us to. So anything that's not, like, me trying to get your voice out through my audio, like, the first time.
God.
Anything better than that is great.
Oh my God.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to the Hamsteak Podcast. My name's Alex, and I have not read Homestuck before.
My name's Lydia, and I super have.
And we're going to tell you about it.
So this week, we are picking up with Act 4, finally, after spending a bunch of time in, like, weird, disjointed intermission hell.
Well, 2 weeks. You know, not that long. 2 weeks.
Oh, it felt like a long time. I don't know. It felt like a long time to be away from my children. But yeah, so we are reading pages 3258 through 3306, which is just, like, the game that starts up Act 4, and then, you know, some pages after that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, so it does start with a game, so let's, I want to hear Alex's impressions of this, because I feel like it makes a way bigger impression the first time around.
Yeah, it was definitely impressive.
How so?
So it starts off, so I actually, since it has been a couple of weeks since we were following John around, I wasn't exactly sure where he was. Like, I knew he'd gone through the gate, but it took me a while to realize that transported him down to the surface of the planet that he's been on. But so yeah, this game starts out, John appears, like, he gets kind of transportalized, I guess.
I don't know what you want to call it.
He, like, in a flash, like, he appears on this ground, and it's this blue landscape with these, like, glowing blue tree trunks without leaves all over the place, and they're kind of twisty, really cool looking trees, and there's all these pipes as well that are kind of sticking out of the rock. Mm-hmm. And so it tells you that you can, you know, move around with the arrow keys and hit spacebar to, like, swing your hammer. And then you can also access the Sylladex directly, which is pretty cool. And you're going to be picking up a bunch of items as you explore this landscape. And so you actually have to wrangle with the Sylladex, which is pretty fun.
Pretty fun or pretty infuriating, depending on how you experience it? Because did this ever happen to you where you would accidentally pick something up and it would fling a useful object, and so you'd try to pick up the useful object, but it would fling another one, and so you'd have to cycle through all of them, but then you'd accidentally pick up the garbage one again, and you'd have to go through the whole thing again?
Oh yeah, like I kept like, picking up objects near walls, and then the object the other object would get flung out, bounce off the wall, and land right at my feet, where I would pick it up again. And I would have to, like, move one pixel at a time, like, while the objects were, like, cycling through, until I could get far enough away that it wouldn't get picked up immediately. That was frustrating, but it was also, like, really funny, because that's kind of how John lives his life.
Yes, it definitely puts you in the character's shoes in, like, a very real way.
Yeah. But eventually I figured out, like, there's these empty, because he has, like, 4 stacks now in the Sylladex. So I figured out, like, if I empty a stack, then I can pick up objects with it and, like, fill up that stack. So by the end, I was, like, pretty versed in the Sylladex shenanigans.
Nice.
But yeah, so there's a bunch of imps that he can go around and beat up and get some grist from. And interestingly, they are not just the jester imps anymore. There are some cat-shaped ones and some octopus Cthulhu-shaped ones, who both of those kinds are wearing wizard robes. So that is happening because Rose has entered the medium.
Some of them have princess outfits on too.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Like little pink princess hats and pink princess dresses.
Yeah, and also interestingly, there were some blue and gray ones. So not just like the inky black ones that we've seen so far.
Yeah, they're like made of different stuff. So like the inky black ones are made of like oil, but these ones are made of like cobalt and like mercury, I think.
Oh, I see. That was what dropped when you hit them sometimes.
Yeah.
I see. Cool. Yeah, so what these imps apparently are invading this landscape because you meet some friendly yellow salamander people as well. And they kind of, you start near like the spawning area, they just say glub, 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 glub. But like as you explore, they start talking in more coherent sentences. And they teach you kind of what's going on here and how to work these pipes, which are like a really interesting kind of world building mechanic. So basically, this world, this blue world that these yellow salamanders live on, the way that the economy works is there's these pipes that extend all through the interior, and you can either drop a mini tablet, a carved tablet basically in the shape of a Siladex thing, capsule card.
There you go.
Vocabulary. So you can chisel the shape of the object you want onto that, and then that gets sent somewhere, they don't know where, and the object comes back. But also if you are next to a pipe that has an object in it, it is customary to take the object, which doesn't make any sense for the economy, but is very convenient for this game, because you just get a bunch of objects.
Yeah. Well, because so the missing third piece is that if you open one and there's a carved tablet in it, you're obliged to put the object in.
Oh, I missed that. I didn't do that. I probably effed up.
Oh.
But also some of these pipes, when you open them, are just full of black goo, because it turns out that the imps have been coming up through the pipes. And now that Rose is here, they're just coming up out of the land.
It's now that John's here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these guys are pretty upset about the invasion of their home.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that kind of goes on here. Like, it's a pretty big map. And luckily, there is just a link underneath the game to a map of the area. Mm-hmm. And you can follow along where you are there. But a few other things that we see are a gray frog statue that looks like the temple on Jade's Island, and that has been destroyed by an imp, or probably an ogre, because it's a big mess. And so that kind of correlates to the aimless renegade hating, or like thinking that frog amphibian imagery is illegal, I guess, because like the salamander guy is like, oh, they destroyed this statue which was sacred. Anyway.
Well, so aimless renegade is not the same as these imps.
Oh, right, I forgot about that.
No, it's okay. They are still the reason. So did you get to the bit that talks about how the imps got there and the slumbering whoever?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that after.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll get to that then.
Yeah. Well, just kind of to quickly wrap up, you can actually, a few of the conversations bring up like a conversation with Nana Sprite, who explains things to you, and she reveals that you are the heir, H-E-I-R, whatever that means. And then later on, you learn that the heir is the one who is destined to fight the slumbering one, who is the cause of all the problems here, who kind of summon the imps and also trap the fireflies underneath the clouds, mm-hmm. which is why the planet looks so cloudy from above, I guess.
Right. It's like why the clouds are like stuck in place and not like moving around or anything.
Yeah, and he's filled the pipes with sludge.
Mm-hmm. And then took a nap.
Yeah. So it's the heir's job to take care of that. Also, they mention agents, which I'm not quite sure what that means yet, but I don't think I'm supposed to.
You are.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are they?
Remember that our friend Jack is an archagent?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so all of the carapace people in the employ of at least the Black Kingdom are agents. And
I see.
so like they're saying like the reason why like the slumbering one like did all this stuff was because he was like tapped by the agents
I see.
to do it, which is why despite being a completely different species, like he's an agent, why the aimless renegade still like really hates frogs.
Okay, I see.
Because that's their whole MO, and so like they also have these imps like go and like destroy frogs and
Right.
so speaking of like the ways that you can talk to Nana Sprite, one of the ways that you can talk to her is so as you're seeing this destroyed statue, she's like, yeah, like amphibians are going to be really important to your quest because the people that you walk around talking to are these little yellow salamander people. And John is like, what, like frogs and stuff? And she's like, especially frogs.
Yeah.
Tuck that one away.
Okay, I will. What else goes on here? Oh yeah, there's one quote from one of the salamanders that I really like, which was when they were explaining that John is destined to, or that someone is supposed to come take care of all this mess. The salamander says, "As the consorts of this land, we are predictably persecuted by dark forces.
Predictably.
And require a hero for our salvation. Alas, there is no hero in sight. Wait a minute, it is you."
He says that, but then there's other ones that are like talking about, like, if I saw the air right now, I'd probably punch him in the nose for some reason. I don't know. What was I talking about? Or, like, other ones that'll say, like, pretty cool how I'm taking your existence in stride, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, it's a lot of fun. But basically I think that's setting up that when he goes through each of the gates, he's going to have to fix a problem with the world that corresponds to that gate.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, because they say they're predictably persecuted by dark forces, I assume that this is the beginning of a pattern.
Right. So are you saying that there's going to be different worlds through each gate?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
Oh, we should mention that this blue planet is called the Land of Wind and Shade.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of factors into the lore of the salamanders. They're like, oh, the breeze is going to come back and, like, fix everything. Or something about the breeze.
Yeah, the capital B breeze is, like, their divinity, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. So all in all, this is, like, a pretty cool bit of world building.
Mm-hmm.
Lydia, you mentioned that the controls were janky and you didn't like it.
I hated them, but here's the thing, is I don't play video games, period. So the fact that it, like, anything that's not just, like, point and click is just, like, this is unnecessarily complicated, and, like, my spatial intelligence isn't, especially at first, like, I hadn't played a video game in a really long time, and so I, like, could not at all make any connection between what I was seeing on the screen and what I was looking at on the map, and, like, it really infuriates me sometimes in this comic, the way that they, like, take for granted that, like, you can do that, and, like, I super can't. But I figured it out. I looked on the wiki page because obviously none of that was going to be a spoiler for me. And was just like, in what order am I supposed to do this stuff? And like, where exactly do I go? And can you explain to me what to look at? And so I did it basically with a walkthrough.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they probably are pretty justified in taking for granted that most of his, I guess we're talking about Hussey, most of his audience is going to be literate in gaming, like, mechanics.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah. But yeah, I just kind of took it in stride and explored every corner of the map and kind of figured out where I was on the larger map and just kind of followed from there. So it took me, all in all, like, speaking to every salamander and clicking all the pipes and getting stuck on a bunch of walls with Silodex stuff. It took me about 40 minutes to explore the whole thing.
Did you pick up Serenity?
Oh no, I didn't see her.
So if you open one of the little parcel pixuses, So two interesting things that happen around the parcel pyxes. A couple actually. So one of them is that you open one and it's like, there's something inside, why don't you take it? And it's a firefly trapped in amber, which is much later in the future how we find Serenity.
I saw the amber, I didn't see Serenity in it.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, there's a little firefly in there. And then, what are some other things? When you touch one of the parcel pyxes, and it actually varies which one that's going to be, depending on, like, I restarted the game a bunch of times because I was, like, not sure I was, like, going in the right order. You click on it, and you just hear, like, hello, it's nice to see you. And, that's, you might imagine that's PM. I think that's PM's voice from the future. Like, she's using the console to talk to you at that point. Because she's all about the mail.
I see.
I believe. And then another funny thing is that a lot of the, you come across two different chiseled tablets that you're, like, supposed to throw stuff in for. And one of them is your dad's hat, and one of them is a shoe. So presumably your dad is out there somewhere and has figured out this economy and is trying to, like, find his hat.
I see. I did the opposite. I messed up. When I found those, and then found the empty ones that you're supposed to throw something into, I thought I just threw the tablets in because I thought I was, like, requesting a hat and a shoe.
So but greedy.
Someone else was requesting a hat and a shoe.
Yeah.
I see. Well, all right. Well, now I understand why the economy seemed so one-sided.
Yes.
It's because I was taking advantage of it.
Wait, I have one more thing. This reminded me so strongly of, and, like, vice versa of when I played that game. So, do you remember that part of Undertale that's, like, you wandering around in the dark?
With the lantern mushrooms?
Yeah, the lantern mushrooms, and then also the, like, watery part.
Oh, yeah, like the waterfall area.
Yeah.
Like, with the glowing blue plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that this could definitely have been, like, a direct inspiration for that. Mm-hmm. Because, as people at home probably know, the developer of Undertale, the smash indie hit of last year, was or still is, I guess, a music maker for this thing, which is called Homestuck. Speaking of which, I forget. There was we should probably talk about how last week in Homestuck there was an 18-minute flash.
What?
As part of the update.
Oh, fuck. I should just go watch that. Like, I don't even understand where we are right now, but I just want to, like, go watch it and just, like, I'm, like, so sad that I'm not caught up as it's ending.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that sucks. Yeah. But basically, Toby, I guess, wrote a piece for that, but it wasn't named, and he was like, oh, you guys name it whatever you want. And he shared a screenshot of, like, his track for this, and it was called, like, Opa Toby Style.
That's really cute.
Yeah. So, yeah, another ringing endorsement for Undertale on this podcast.
Yeah.
About Homestuck.
Play Undertale.
Okay, so I think we're probably done with the game. Should probably just say that it was programmed by Alexis Beingesner?
Yeah, I don't know how they pronounce their name.
No. Additional art by Cindy, just Cindy. Mm-hmm. And the music, which was really, really good, was
so good.
Doctor by George Buzinkai. Buzinkai? Buzinkai. And it was remixed by Michael Vallejo and Clark Powell.
Nice.
Yeah, so thanks to all you people 5 years ago for doing that.
Yeah, it was really, really pretty music, but it very quickly, maybe it's just my headphones, but it was way too loud.
Oh.
So, like, even when I turned the volume down, like, as far as it would go, it was way too loud, so I had to just turn it off. But that's probably my shitty headphones. Speaking of headphones, on the next page, we go back to our future desert future buds.
Yeah, That's what I started calling them this week.
Desert Future Buds. That's so cute. They have a name, but it hasn't come up yet, as a group, so.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, Aimless Renegade, who is the... Oh, man. He's... So, you know that, you know those Neil Cicerio videos where he does the, the races of Star Wars and Star Trek, but they're all wrong?
No.
Oh, they're so funny.
Okay, I believe you. We should put that in the show notes.
Yeah, good idea. But, it's just, he says funny things in a nerd voice instead of the actual race names of, the Star Trek and Star Wars aliens.
Okay.
But the one he does for Tusken Raiders, he calls them gun mummies. And that's what Aimless Renegade is.
Oh, that's up there with, So yes, you're correct. He is a gun mummy. He is a cautionary gun mummy. But that also reminds me of the, you see them most on, Facebook at this point, but, other names for animals.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, God. I can't remember the name of a single one. Snakes are noodles of some kind.
Oh, okay.
Reminds me of those, and then it also reminds me of those, pages and pages of, mispronounced names of fruits.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all I got. Okay. Oh, God. This is so unfunny. So, our,
I mean, mispronunciation is just, a really good and timely joke.
It's inherently, it's pretty inherently hilarious, so. Speaking of which, what?
Yeah, so, Gun Mummy is in a shootout with one of the worms in the, Apple Bomb Control Center.
God, this fucking comic. It's just blasting lasers everywhere, and he should by rights be vaporized, but he's jigging around it.
Yeah, because, I mean, the way that this comic works is if your sprite is just jiggling around fast enough, you're fine. It's kind of like the Flash can go through walls by just jiggling his atoms fast enough. That's what's going on here.
That's not... Oh, that makes me so mad. That's not how that works. But that is what's going on here. I accept it here because it's cartoon logic.
Well, so is the Flash. So is it's cartoons. Anyway, so the three are kind of at odds with each other. AR is shooting at both of them.
At both PM and WV.
Yeah. But then through stuff blowing up, the pumpkin that has Becquerel's face carved on it falls onto WV's head. And AR freaks out and stops shooting and runs down and puts his hand up in front of WV, which is really funny because he sees this symbol, which is Becquerel's head upside down, and he prostrates himself before that.
Yeah, because Becquerel is really powerful, so.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
That's spooky. I think that's why. I don't remember exactly why, but
that would be I guess Occam's razor. That makes the most sense.
Yeah. So that goes down. I mean, Occam's razor need not apply in this comic.
That's true.
To be fair,
but I mean that's something that we can understand, given what we already have for context.
Right, but so PM doesn't quite pick up on the fact that a surrender is quite what's going down there, and just beautifully her mail hat falls off and she swoops in with her gnarly black sword and is about to take out AR, and then we leave. We cut away.
Yeah, so we leave on a panel of them with WV is just kind of dancing around with his pumpkin on his head and just holding a makeshift spear.
Yeah.
PM is perfectly still with her with her sword to AR's throat. And AR is just kind of on the ground wiggling his arms and legs around. And we just leave them in that on that cliffhanger for a little while.
Yeah. So that goes down.
Yeah. And so the first thing after that we see is Jade. Back at the temple. with the huge lotus contraption that we saw last act.
Right.
And so it turns out that this is a time capsule, and it contains Dave's copy of the Spur beta. And I have no idea how long it was closed, but the digital readout thing on the bottom has digit places for billions of years.
So presumably it was closed when it was delivered via meteor in the infancy of the Earth's formation.
Right.
So probably about 4 billion years ago?
Yeah. So yeah, did we find out how Dave lost them?
The last we saw is some birds flew off with them a long time ago, like early in this comic.
Right, and that's why he was fighting his brother to get his brother's copy.
Right. Well, no, he was fighting his brother
just
because his brother set up like a whole Saw-style, like, creepy summons to the roof for a fight.
Right, and Dave's prize for putting up with that was his brother's copy.
Yes.
And in this reading, like, I forget, it was Jada Rose says, "Where have you been, Dave?" And he's like, "I was fighting for like an hour and a half with my brother on the roof."
Yes.
Which is very funny.
Because it went on through like 3 or 4 episodes of this podcast.
Yeah.
It's just all of these things would happen, and then we'd cut to Dave and his brother on the roof, messing around, and then just cut away again. That's all you would see.
Yeah. So Jade does some Silodeck shenanigans, which I think is a nice little way to kind of bring in the act. Just like harken back to some Silodeck stuff.
Yeah, to a simpler time when it was all just jokes about game mechanics.
Yeah, so she tries a Jenga modus, which doesn't work because she, I guess, isn't good at Jenga. And she just, like, all her stuff collapses.
She falls asleep. She has a narcoleptic episode.
Oh, that's what happens.
And knocks it over, yeah.
So then she goes to Pictionary, which is really cute. And also it was chosen by the readers.
Thanks, readers.
Yeah,
thanks. It's very cute.
It is. So she has to draw things to put them in the Silodex cards.
And she's unable to draw herself a ripe pumpkin.
Yeah, there's some things that she can't draw.
Or that she can't get. Like, if she tries to draw something that isn't actually there,
right?
She'll
so
just
she gets a ghost image.
Yeah.
So she gets a ghost image of an actor. I forget who.
Charles Dutton.
There you go. So she doesn't actually have a photograph of him, but she has the code on the back of the card. So if she ever is able to scan that code into one of those machine thingies that makes items, she can get a photograph of Charles Dutton.
Yeah.
And she tries to do it with a pumpkin, but the code doesn't show up. So she's, I guess, fated never to see a ripe pumpkin.
Yeah.
That's part of her karmic fate. For some reason. And she also can't pick up her base, which is why it's still there in the future.
Yeah, so she tries to draw, like, the base, and then she just gets a ghost image of a regular base, and then she draws a really nice detailed picture of the base, and she gets a ghost image of, like, a Mars rover. Or, like, I think of WALL-E or something.
Yeah, it's like a robot goofy thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like Johnny Five. I haven't seen that movie.
I don't know.
But then Becquerel finds her in the temple and, like, immediately apparates her to her room.
The jig is up!
Yep. And she says, "Oh, the stuff that I left behind, that's my time capsule for the future."
Mm-hmm. And yes, you're correct. I see you asking, does the timer on the time capsule that, like, closes up again when she gets the betas out, like, it says it's going to be 413 years in the future, it's going to open up? Yep. Yep. Confirmed.
Should we say specifically that is when the Desertfriends are there?
Yes.
Okay. And so
you're meant to at least strongly hypothesize because, like,
sure.
At least when we're talking about extreme distances in the past or in the future, there's pretty much, like, Earth's formation, present time, Desertfriends. That's it.
Oh, was Earth's formation 4.13 billion years ago?
Maybe, I don't know.
I bet it was in this comic. So she immediately starts installing the beta. And then we go back to John.
Right, she's installing the beta because she's like, I might as well like be proactive and just get things set up and whatever.
Also, Becquerel has locked her in her room.
Yeah. And John is having a very cute conversation with Jade.
Yeah. So, well, when we first see him, he has his like Google glasses on, and each lens is like displaying a different Pester log, which is really funny.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering how he types in that, but I guess that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The words just kind of appear.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Maybe they like project a laser keyboard into the air or something.
Maybe he can like dictate it.
Maybe.
Like a really advanced Siri.
Yeah.
That can pick up on like non-capitalized grammar cues.
I mean, you could probably just like set those preferences somewhere.
I guess. So Jade says something interesting to John, which is that, well, she says, "Oh, I have suburb," and he's like, "Oh, I thought you didn't know what that was." And she was like, "Oh, silly, I was asleep when I said that. I know what it is." So the sleep version of Jade, I guess, just has different information from Earth Jade.
Yep.
They are like the same person, but they don't have all the same memories.
Right.
Which I guess I already knew.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't actually supply much more information on that. It's not super clear to me either.
Okay, that's fine. Just keep saying yep or nope at things I say.
Yeah. So they have that conversation, and then at some point, like, Jade also says, like, I think he locked me in my room, and you know, they're talking about how he's a handful. And so at some point, if you remember earlier, Dave gave the sort of horrifying suggestion that she should, if ironic suggestion, that she should just take Beck out behind the woodshed and shoot him.
Yeah.
And John's, you know, sort of similar comment is, I think he's doing it all in your best interest. He's sort of like a guardian angel. If I were you, I would take him out behind the woodshed and give him a big hug. Yeah,
and she just like gives him a smiley face. So we head back to Jave.
Jave, you know, our good friend Jave.
That's probably the shipping name.
No, it's Dave Jade.
Why not just like Dade?
Because that's awful.
Dade or Jave?
No. Yeah, a ship name needs to have at least 2 syllables. I'm sorry, how's that go?
I mean, John Rose is Joe's.
Also,
Joe's and Jave.
God.
Those
are 2 old men sitting next to each other on the porch in rocking chairs, throwing things at passing children.
I like Joe's and Jave. Except Joe's is like, it's just Jose.
Jose and Jave. Flinging cigarette butts at passing dogs.
Is that the episode title? Jose and Date? No, not really.
No.
That's not actually funny. We're not actually funny. I just wanted to note that Dave's room is filled with crows.
Yeah, Dave's room is full of his roof is full of crows. His room is full of crows. We should remind you, since we haven't seen them in a while, that neither of those things are normally full of crows. So that's a little alarming.
Mm-hmm. Also, Jade sends him like a screen cap, like a photo that she seems to have taken through her Dreambot, like of the insiposphere of like a cloud showing the meteor headed towards his house.
Yep.
Which I didn't realize that she could just like provide photographic evidence of her vision type things.
Yeah, and like you'd think she would do that more because like John especially keeps constantly being like, "Oh my god, you're psychic."
Yeah, but I mean, like she did say today that like, "Oh, I couldn't tell you about it before because if I had, then it would have changed how you would have reacted, and it needed to happen a certain way."
Right.
So maybe now she can be more transparent about it, especially since John's gonna wake up soon there, question mark. But yeah, it didn't occur to me that she could just like use her laptop camera there and just have photographic evidence of these like cloud visions.
So it's not her laptop camera. If you look at the top, it's a screen cap from her Dreambot. So presumably, I don't know exactly how this works, but I guess so her dreaming self, you know,
I guess through the Dreambot's eyes, it's seeing what Dream Jade sees.
Right, which is how it's able to like fly around in the same way that Dream Jade is.
Right. And it can like log that information.
Yep.
Cool. So then Dave gets interrupted by carcinogeneticist.
Yeah.
Who we see a little icon of his face when he's pestering John in the eye. Am I right in that is the same troll that we saw?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look at the sprite and like look at them side by side, it's exactly the same.
Okay, cool. So he talks to John, and then he reveals that basically their relationship is backwards. Like one's first meeting with the other one is the other one's last meeting with the other one.
Right.
Which is a Doctor Who arc. Like that's what the Doctor and River Song did.
Oh God. Oh, stop. No, because... Stop. I'm emotionally vulnerable today, and I normally don't care at all about the Doctor, but, like, stop. God, I'm, like, emotionally invested in John and CG's relationship, and then that, like, spilled over into thinking about the Doctor and River Song, and, like, stop. A very small punch in my stomach.
Oh. Okay, we don't have to talk about that anymore.
No, let's talk about it, because, like, here, like, I don't know. I do think it's really funny, because it's a lot of... So help me God, I'm not gonna blurt out this character's name. But, he talks about how, like, oh, like, I'm so annoyed, like, you're so dumb, and, like, I keep having to, like, repeat things to you, and I'm done repeating things to you, and it's like, whose fault is it that you're working backwards? Like, literally, That's how time works. He doesn't know things you haven't told him yet from his perspective. But, like, they are teenagers, so...
Yeah, and it seems like the trolls interact with time differently from humans.
Yeah, so they have access to any point in John's timeline, and so he's choosing to work backwards, like...
Oh, I see. But for him, it... Like, he probably just has, like, a hard time understanding, like, that John can't be cognizant of that. It's like if someone could only remember what they see in front of them and they couldn't remember what they see behind them, and you can like point over their shoulder and say, "Look, there's a car behind you," and they're like, "What's a car?"
That's an interesting hypothesis, and you won't really find out about it for a very long time.
Okay.
So, so we talk a little bit about their formation of their friendship and how, like, they become good friends by the end of... John becomes good friends with CG by the end of this. Meanwhile, like, CG is just meeting him for the first time. They also... I don't know. What is it? Okay, so one important bit of information that gets dropped is that the trolls are also playing Suburb, but in a different session.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and separate from John and his friends?
Yeah, so they have a different instance of the medium, I assume.
Yep, that is exactly how that works. So that's one thing. And then, I also just really love this character, like, discourse, or, like, dialect, or whatever, like, his just mannerisms. He starts talking to him with, "Hey, John, calm the hell down," all in caps. And John's just like, "Ah! How did you find me? I changed my handle." And the troll is like, "You think handles matter to us, humans?" But then later on, he starts talking about, like, oh yeah, we, like, feel this, like, human emotion called friendship. And John is just like, Friendship isn't an emotion, fuck nuts.
Yeah. And yeah, I like the line, this human emotion called friendship.
It's really good, and it comes right up in the next screen where...
Yeah, we see the Desertfriends bonding over some warm soda pop and old rations.
Yeah.
And they're like, this human emotion called friendship. And they're like in the sunset, like sitting around a fire, or not a fire, just some cans.
Yeah. It seems like they should be sitting around a fire. And like Serenity's sitting there blinking.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
So they've somehow made peace. Nobody got murdered.
Mm-hmm. Which is good.
Yeah. And then we move to Jade setting up Dave's house.
Yes. Oh, also, the troll told John that Jade needs to contact the trolls because she's just been ignoring them.
Right, but it's apparently important that they talk to her. Which, why is it important?
I don't know.
No, but you're meant to wonder.
Okay. I mean, I wonder at everything in this comic.
Oh.
It's a given. I don't have to say it.
I'm envious.
So Jade is setting up Dave's house.
Yep.
She puts the Cruxite extruder on top of his the broken air conditioning unit on top of the apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
And the text is like, oh, that's pretty handy that was scaled exactly to fit that. Because obviously it was.
Yes. But like, there's some foresight, because we've been seeing that air conditioning unit for like hundreds of pages.
You're right. Thousands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, not thousands plural, but like...
Well, like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and then Dave drops another R slur because Hussey doesn't know how not to, like, I don't know, use an actual word that means the thing he's trying to express when he uses that word.
Yeah.
Whatever. And then him and Jade banter some more about the profusion of crows in his bedroom. Jade complains about how difficult it is to position all of these objects, and she says she wishes she played more games, and I was like, my girl, I feel you.
Yeah. Because Dave's room is a mess, and there's, like, wires crisscrossing the floor, and Jade can't put an object on top of those wires until he moves them.
No, she cannot.
So she moves his bed out to the roof.
Yeah, and I think Rose is like, look at her, she has the karma.
Yeah, so I was a bit confused there, because Rose can't see into Dave's room.
I think because Dave is saying that, like,
yeah,
she's
Dave is
moving
like,
the bed.
describe it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and did you like what Rose said about, like, oh, these two boys have been doing this, and they, like, made a mess, and this girl comes in and does it properly right away?
Yeah, it's really funny. Like, I don't know, like, it feels cute and lighthearted and not, like, I don't know, there's a lot of times the way that, like, I don't know, when people write kids talking about, like, gender divides, it's like the kids are written as not being self-aware about it at all, but she's, like, very, very, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading that into her, but she's very, like, cheeky about it. It's funny.
No, for sure. I think, like, I'm reminded of those early Avatar episodes where Sokka's like, oh, girls can't fish, or, like, oh, girls can't be warriors. Mm-hmm. And, like, there's no reason for him to think that. Like, he's been, like, alone with a bunch of women for 2 years, and he's seen that they've been able to take care of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, and everyone immediately calls him out for the fact that, like, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're not like, oh, he's so blah, blah, like, they're just like, you're being ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, and Jade and Rose are both riffing off of Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff references, which are really cute.
Yeah. But then, like, at the very end, I think it kind of negates itself in the, like, cool gender dynamic way, where Jade is like, oh, this apartment is a mess, it needs a womanly touch.
I think she's being funny.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. That felt, like, really out of place to me.
Yeah, I imagine that as her just, like, I don't know. It is a little, like, clunky, but...
Yeah, but it kind of, I guess, deconstructed itself because she doesn't know how to clean. So she, like, tries to dip a towel in the toilet.
Right.
But then drops it in the toilet, and then she can't get it out, and she just, like, tears the toilet out of the floor.
Yep. In an ongoing theme of, I think Rose, like, ripped out John's bathtub.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, it does definitely deconstruct itself right away, and, like, I don't know. I think, so they don't really go into that a lot about, like, in the comic, about how, like, Jade really doesn't understand. Like, Jade obviously has access to the internet and stuff, and, like, she understands plenty, but she doesn't necessarily understand, like, some things about the world, including, like, how to do gender. And in the fandom, people take that a lot further in really interesting ways. Like, they're like, I don't know, among other things, like, obviously Jade wouldn't shave any of her body hair because, like, where would it occur to her to, like, do that? And, like, why would she bother? Yeah. So that's, like, pretty canonical, is that, like, Jade is a hairy little wilderness girl, which I love.
Yeah, that is cute.
Yeah.
And that's the reading.
Yep. Which, actually, so I was worried that I had paced it right, but it looks like I did pace it right, because that game took a long time to talk about.
Yeah.
So.
And there were some nice, hefty pester logs in there, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But yeah, that was a really good intro to Act 4. We touched on all the characters. We know what's going. We know what all the stakes are. We know where everyone is.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that reading.
Yeah.
I do feel like, especially with kind of Jade explaining a bit more about stuff, that I wouldn't understand what she was talking about if I hadn't had Lydia explain some things to me.
Okay.
And just like a whole bunch of little things where, Lydia, you guide me in the right direction that I feel like I just wouldn't have picked up on if I were reading this alone. But that's probably a good thing. Because I need to be on the right page for this to work.
Right, well, and I do also think that because we're reading it in little snippets, like, when you like, just mainline this comic, like, and you are neither, like, participating in the ongoing, like, fan discourse in between, like, live updates, or just reading it all in order, like, the little bits and pieces of information she drops don't make sense, but they fit together. First of all, they fit together a lot more naturally as they go, because it is all more fresh for you, and then when they do start coming together a lot more rapidly later on, they're also fresher then, and it makes more sense. So.
Cool.
Thank you for not resenting me.
Oh, no, yeah, never.
Oh.
Okay, so I think we should talk about the... let's try that again. I think we should go to listener questions.
I concur. So while Alex opens those up, I think this is the first time I've remembered to do the thing the entire time that we've done this podcast, but if you guys want to send us questions, you can ask us, like, via the Tumblr ask box on hamsteakpodcast.tumblr.com. We have Anonymous on, so let's get weird. And you can also give us an @ or a DM on Twitter, where we are also Hamsteak Podcast.
Yes. So our first question from Tumblr comes from Tumblr user Brickchip.
That's me, you guys.
Who is Lydia. And
did you call me Libya?
No.
Oh, okay.
What?
I don't know. That's how it sounded.
All right. So she has a question for me, and it is, tell me what you think about the Homestuck fandom so far. What kind of preconceptions did you have, and have they changed at all? And how do you see yourself fitting in? My my preconception about the Homestuck fandom was kind of wrapped up in Homestuck itself, in that it was, like, dense and incomprehensible to the outside eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I still feel that way about the fandom, probably just because I haven't gotten into the really weird stuff yet. Like, with all the... I keep going back to the image of, like, cons with group photos of a dozen troll outfits, which just seemed intimidating at the time, and continues to seem intimidating.
Oh.
And also, I just, like, don't engage in fandom very much, outside of, like, cute fan art. And it seems like one thing that I know about Homestuck fandom is that there's like sad stuck. Like that's a genre of Homestuck fan fiction where they just like, I guess it's just like dark fan fiction.
Yeah.
Which just like doesn't interest me at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of really dark fan works, but there's also a lot of really like heartwarming ones.
Sure. So yeah, like I feel like Homestuck is like any fandom, except just very vocal. But I mean, lots of fandoms are now. Like I think Homestuck was probably prototypical of a lot of big weird fandoms that we have now.
True.
Like it came before Bronies even.
God.
And Bronies got weird in different ways, but they started out kind of as the same, like, this thing's really good, you all should be watching it, / reading it. And we're gonna dress up as weird, colorful things.
Yeah.
But let's not talk about Bronies very much.
Yeah.
Our next question on Tumblr comes from Dear King with 3 E's. And it is, "Hi Hamsteaks, this is a good pod." Thank you. Lydia, which characters in HS have your feelings about changed most as you've reread the comic? Alex, what's another piece of media you've reread and had very different opinions on the second time? Ooh, these are good questions.
I think this is my friend Jason, but I can't remember for sure. Because I think he used to have Dear King with 2 E's, and then I bet you that got taken, and now he's on Dear King with 3 E's, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to check.
Okay.
Should I check?
I'm checking.
Okay.
No, this is Tay, 22, from Portland.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Oh, maybe... That's so weird. So, maybe I'm mistaking... Maybe my friend Jason didn't have the URL Dear King, but I definitely used to be followed by someone called Dear King. That's so familiar to me. Oh, this is so weird. Tay, if we, like, used to be mutuals a million years ago, I'm sorry about that. I purged my followers completely this past summer because I was just having a lot of weird feelings about media, and I literally only follow, like, 4 people now. So it's nothing personal. I will probably still check your blog. Okay, so what character has my opinion about changed the most as I've reread? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that we've seen so far. I think I like Dave a little less.
Yeah?
This time around. Yeah. Because I'm sort of more actively deconstructing, like, what's not okay about, and, like, not as a, like, I still like the, quote unquote, the character as a person. I still like him a lot, but I think that he is a lot more lazily designed than really any of the other characters in some ways.
That's definitely how I feel so far.
Yeah, and, like, so the thing is, that character is going to get a lot of really great development later on, but just right now, like, yeah, I'm just not, like, Hussey didn't try that hard on creating him, and I think I bought into him a lot when I first started reading, and I, like, kind of don't now.
That makes a lot of sense, just, like, in terms of how old you were, and where you were in terms of understanding of things.
Right.
Okay, so thanks for those topic questions. We have a couple from Twitter as well.
Wait.
Oh,
you didn't...
I forgot.
Yeah.
So another piece of media that I've reread and had different opinions about the second time. Geez, that's hard. Because I haven't reread or rewatched a lot of media in recent years because I've kind of been on an ethos of, like, I have to see as much as possible, so I don't have time to reread things.
Right.
But before that, I reread Harry Potter like a dozen times.
Oh my god.
Well, the first one, like 9 times.
Wow.
So, I mean, obviously, like, as I got older, my opinions about that changed.
Like, can you give one example?
Like, I used to think that Snape was a tragic figure, and now I think he's just an asshole.
Right on.
And that's, like, definitely influenced by, like, fandom discourse.
Yeah.
And, like, people outside of myself being critical of things in ways that I hadn't thought of, and me internalizing that. And I think that's an important part of any interaction with media. So probably anything that I revisited now I'd had different feelings about than I did a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's a good example, because I'm just, like, looking at my bookshelf and I can't see anything that pops out at me. And I haven't rewatched any TV in a long time. So thanks for those questions.
Yes, thanks.
So our first Twitter question comes from user @TrinityCodex, who asks, how long do you think it will take for you to finish the entire comic? So I think Lydia's done some math on this.
Let me redo the math on it, though. Just in a quick and dirty way, because also it just recently updated, so hang on a second. Or, I mean, don't actually hang on a second, because we're going to edit this all out, but that's 66.89 weeks. So I guess round that up for a rate of, like, we miss one, or we do, like, a half episode every, like, month or so, every, like, 6 weeks, maybe?
Yeah, so probably June of 2017.
Wait, what? Well, so it's early April now. So yeah, we'll probably be done. Yeah, maybe like June or July 2017. Yep. Sorry if that math doesn't quite satisfy you. It's all very fungible. I'm also about to start grad school. So that could get real exciting. I have no intentions of stopping doing this podcast because it continues to be the highlight of the week and, like, a big sanity-making thing in my life, so... Mm-hmm. And I like this comic, and it's cute, and I really want to finish reading it, so... But who knows? Also, the other thing is, like, the entirety of Act 7 is going up on 4/13, I think.
Right.
So, who knows how long that's going to be. I think Hussey's posted it, but I don't feel like looking it up. Who knows if I'm gonna, like, catch myself up with where I stopped reading during that time or whatever. I think I might, because at some point it's gonna start to be relevant. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, June of 2017, I guess. Mark your calendars. And then watch us just blow through it spectacularly, so.
Yeah.
Thanks for your question.
Yeah. So our final question comes from Twitter user Dromedary.
Oh, hi.
And he asks, how will Homestuck end? It's a pretty nice and simple question, which I have no qualification to answer.
I think it's gonna end... So he posted, I think he said it was gonna be a big flash and then a bunch of pages, and so I think the pages are the ones that are gonna go up on 4/13. In a looser way, I want to editorialize a little bit and say, like, not with a bang, but with a whimper, because, like, I'm annoyed that this comic has drawn out for as long as it has, and in my personal opinion, it's way bigger than it should be. And it's outgrown itself, and I resent that because I got really invested in it, and now it's kind of more than, like, you really, like, to really be able to process the entire story, you have to invest so much time and effort, and it has to be on a reasonably compressed time frame just to be able to keep everything in your head at once, even if you're, like, literally taking notes and having a wiki open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, I forgot some stuff that happened 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and it takes, I mean, if you're reading it, if you're reading, you know, chunks of it every single day, it's going to take you, like, a month plus to read.
Yeah. And I think that's the end of our questions.
Yeah.
And so that's the end of the episode.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you all for listening. If you'd like to find us individually online, you can find me at CrunchLeaf on Twitter and LeafCrunch on Tumblr.
And I am BrickChip on Twitter and Tumblr both, although my Tumblr is absolute garbage at this point. Like, I don't post very much there, and my Twitter is also kind of garbage. So
you post, like, aesthetic stuff,
like,
so it's good.
God, get me off of the blue website, please. Take me away. But yeah, I mean, follow me. I don't know. Go do it. Fine. Like I said, I usually don't follow back. I'm sorry. but I would love to message you or whatever if you want to say hi.
Yeah. So Lydia, do you have our pages for next week?
So next week. So Homestuck's ending this coming week, but we are not. We are going to be picking up with page 3307, like the one after where we stopped reading, as always. And we're going to read through pages 3401. So that's 94 pages. And we're going to be a little ways into Act 4. I think it's going to take I want to say it's going to take us about 8 episodes to get through Act 4. That is, I just pulled that number out of thin air, but I would love to know if I'm right. I actually have to set out new sets of readings soon because we're almost out of the ones that I prearranged months ago. So that's what we're doing next week. You'll hear that next Monday, April 18th. And then the following Monday, April 25th, is going to be a live episode.
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah, so when I flew up to Toronto last year for TCAF, Air Canada, bless them, overbooked the flight. And I volunteered to stick around and spend still more time languishing in Canada alone, because Alex had to go back to where he lived at the time. So I did, and they gave me lots of money in Canadian airfare in exchange, and so I was able to pick this random weekend in April. Like, a bunch of my other travel plans for this month got messed up, and so instead I was able to pick this weekend in April, and just go. I'm literally going to be in Halifax for 36 hours, and what are we going to do? We're going to record a podcast, so...
Of course.
We'll see you then.
When in Halifax, record a podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we will see you then. And if you have questions you want us to answer in person, I guess that wouldn't really make sense. But just live episode.
Yeah, go for it. So, and believe me, we will effuse even more about it next week. So you're not going to forget. Thanks so much for listening, you guys.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.